Here's a nice picture of Luffy kind of giving his "fuck you, I'm going to take out anybody who's in my way" sort of pose. Certainly, if you like this type of drawing and more, remember to follow me on the social networks like the Instagram, the Facebook, the Twitter, and even the Google+.
One Piece, Chapter 166, Luffy versus Vivi.
Well, hello, my brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the epic and classic and timeless tale of One Piece. Really, our last chapter left us off with Luffy just kind of sitting down as they were going to set out from Yuba to get back to Nanohana and then eventually on to Kateria, or where the rebels were. And Luffy just sat down and said, "I quit." So I kind of had pondered on what could be. Did Mr. 2 somehow find out and infiltrate things? But he still didn't even know that they were enemies. So, but that's where we left off. And we wind up picking up back, of course, in the little meeting area in Rain Base there that they're having at the tippy top of the casino/pyramid. Or the casino that's shaped like a pyramid, and Crocodile and the Baroque Works agents are there. It winds up being at the beginning of it, Mr. 3 pops up, and he's like, "Operation Utopia? What?" So Mr. 3, who we did see at the Spider's Cafe, had obviously followed them here as well, and everybody's like, "Whoa," and they're all, of course, shocked. "Mr. 3, what are you doing?" Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, "Whoa, hold on a second. Let me speak. I knew naturally after things, went south on Little Garden that you were going to send Mr. 2 after me." So he basically explains that he didn't go directly to Alabasta. He went a different way to this, meeting point for Baroque Works agents, then on to Spider Cafe so he could follow them. He's trying to explain what's going on, and he basically wants another chance. Now, Crocodile was under the impression from Sanji's bad nonsense that he did through his bad ad-libbing through the snail phone. He's under the impression that the Straw Hats were defeated along with Princess Vivi. So this all comes as a shock, and it all comes as, of course, new news to everyone. Because he goes and he says, they escaped, they got away, blah, blah, the Unluckies were defeated, all this other sort of stuff. So we know now that finally everybody's in the know and kind of on the same page. And then we get an aha, oh shit moment from Mr. 2, Bon Clay, because all of a sudden he's just like, "I know them. I met them before. I had no idea." So he did, so he goes and kind of, connects the dots over there and figures out that he, in fact, met the Straw Hats as well. So all in all, just a very funny exchange, but it kind of, now it puts everybody on the same page. So we wind up getting, of course, Crocodile is, he's pissed off about this. He's like, "You know what? They know my identity. They cannot be, they can't just, we have to take care of them before the plan's initiated because they know my identity and blah, blah, blah." And you're thinking, okay, well, that's, so Mr. 3 goes and steps up and he's like, "No, let me take care of them." Now, this is where you get to see some of the might of Crocodile, because then he goes and he grabs Mr. 3 by the throat and holds him for, I don't know, by the throat for a few seconds, whatever it is. When he winds up dropping him, Mr. 3 looks kind of like a dried up husk. So whatever Crocodile's deal is, I know that, when we saw him, basically take the flower and kill it. I don't know if it's to drain all the fluid, the water from things, to dehydrate things. I guess it sounds kind of like a weird power. You're the dehydrator, so you can make beef jerky very easily, but or if it just sort of just kind of kills and takes the life out of things. So we're going to find that out, I'm sure, sooner rather than later, but ultimately a pretty cool power. So he doesn't kill Mr. 3. Mr. 3 is just kind of like, crumpled over in a husk or whatever and just gasping, right? And he goes and he hits the ultimate villain bad guy, base trap door, and pulls the lever, hits the button, whatever he does, and Mr. 3 winds up sliding down this tunnel into this pit below. And then this pit that he's in, he's looking around, and there's a couple of big tunnels in it, and then he's surrounded, and he can see outside, and there's water, right? So and then he's like, "What the hell? Am I underground? Am I underwater?" And then, so then Crocodile goes, and he's just like, "Hey, time for," he calls his little crocodile pet there, which we find out is a Banana Gator, and this thing is gigantic, and he says that it's feeding time. So we're assuming, obviously, he sends that down there to eat and kill Mr. 3. Ultimately, like I said, we just, we don't find out a lot about the actual pet. We just know that we hear it's a Banana Gator. So, and then Mr. 3 goes and he's like, "Listen, this, the plan has to go on. We cannot have any issues with this." So he tells Miss All Sunday to go and take care of them. He pulls out everybody's pictures and tells everyone, "Burn those faces in your mind." And then he goes and he explains that the importance of taking out Vivi and the Straw Hats, because we've got to assume that they're in Alabasta now, he says, the importance of it is that he knows that there's a connection between Koza, the rebel leader, and Princess Vivi. So he says that they cannot meet, because if they meet up and Vivi's able to go and, appeal to his, hey, we were childhood friends, will you just listen to me? Maybe she can get him to stop, and he's the one that's commanding and pushing these 700,000 rebels to go and turn the country against itself because of everything Crocodile's put into place, over the last few years. So certainly that's that's his whole goal, is keeping them apart. And he says no matter what, they cannot meet. He's got some some of his billions agents have infiltrated and are kind of in undercover in the rebels camp. But ultimately, Miss All Sunday is the one that is tasked with taking out Vivi and the Straw Hats. So then, and this is the last chapter of the volume as well. So it's really a good volume. We had 11 chapters in there. And Vivi winds up going back to Yuba, or just outside of Yuba, where Luffy has decided to sit down. And this was actually kind of cool, because at first I was wondering, what is this dumb shit's problem now that he's got to sit down? He's like, I quit, right? He sits down and he's just like, no, I quit. I'm not going anywhere. They're like, Luffy, stop screwing around. We got to do this. We got to do that. So then he goes on and on to say about how, I want to kick Crocodile's butt. That's first of all. And then he goes and he says, are you really naive enough to think that, there's going to be no bloodshed at all, that none of your people or the rebels or anything like that are going to get hurt or die? It is what it is, man. This is like a war. People are going to die, right? So Vivi's getting more and more pissed off, and even some of his crewmates are getting really pissed off at him too, Nami in particular, because her and Vivi are gal pals. But even Usopp, Sanji, of course, because Luffy's insulting a woman, and Luffy just keeps going on about, no, we're not doing this. So I'm not doing this. I want to kick Crocodile's butt, and that's what needs to be done. And we're like, okay, well, what is this kid's deal? Well, he goes and he makes a lot of sense. He goes, going all the way to Kateria is not going to stop Crocodile. Even getting the rebels to stop isn't going to stop Crocodile, right? He's the infection. He's the disease. He's the one that's going to keep coming up with a different plan, even if you stop this one. We need to take it out at the root, So I really liked it, and I respected what he said. And it was really kind of cool, because he gets Vivi so mad, right, that she goes and she nails him, and you're like, oh, Jesus, right? Luffy goes, and a couple panels later goes and smacks her ass back, and now the Straw Hats are starting to get upset, now he's like, I'm going to kill him, blah, blah, I'll never forgive you. And anyway, there's just a lot of commotion going on. A couple of them realize that what Luffy's saying makes sense, though. So definitely a very cool exchange there, I think. And then ultimately he says, listen, he goes, I want to kick Crocodile's butt, and that's what you want to do too, more than anything. You may not want to admit it, but unfortunately that's just how it is. People are going to get hurt and people are going to die in this, but we need to take out Crocodile. That's the problem. That's the disease, So it's really kind of cool how he does that, and just kind of, almost makes it look like, almost like he pisses her up. He like builds her up to break her back down, just to build her back up again. And it was really kind of cool how he did that, because when he broke her down with the stuff, he then, eventually got her to pretty much admit what he was saying anyway. That, listen, this is what you want to do too. You're just trying to do the princess-like thing and make sure that nobody gets hurt in the process, but it's inevitably going to happen. You can't save everybody all the time. So it was really kind of cool, because, at the end of the chapter, Luffy's sitting there, and after he goes and, says that to her and what have you, he goes and there's a nice thing, and he's like, all right, so where do we find this Crocodile? Because now he's got everybody's all ready, everybody's all ready to go after Luffy has gone and kind of charged him up, and he's kind of gotten Vivi thinking in his side, because he said, goes, then let us help you. We're your friends, aren't we? And I like things like that come from Luffy, because it's just like his simple-mindedness is almost, it's really kind of endearing and charming in a way when you think about it, because a lot of people would just write him off as a dumb shit. But he really does make a lot of sense with some of the things that he thinks of. It's a singular, he's got these blinders on for where he wants to go and what he wants to do. And it's so simple that he breaks it down. But really, that's what needs to be done. Crocodile's butt needs to be kicked. Crocodile needs to get his ass handed to him. That's what needs to happen. You're trying to go and take care of and put Band-Aids on all the other wounds is really not going to save the country. So I definitely respect it. And as the chapters go on, I gain more and more respect for Luffy each and every day. So ultimately, I think it was good. That's how things end off. That's certainly how the volume ends, with a bang. We will be moving into volume 19, which is very cool. Very, very cool stuff, I think. And my chapter question is, and every now and then I do ask one that is, of course, not not exactly about the chapter. This is more about you, the brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation. I know I've asked some things before, like, what country are you from? Are you male or female? Just so I know when I'm replying to comments. My question, though, now is I live here outside of Chicago. In the last couple of weeks, the weather took a turn for the worse. It was fairly mild summer, but it was real nice up until a week or two ago, and it's just been god awful cold. I mean, it was actually frost on the ground this morning. It's only October. And so I want to know, because I know that there's 50 or 60 different countries we represent over here, and of course all across the U.S. What is the weather like by you right now? If you want to go and you tell me, sunny and warm or whatever, or if you just want to give me what the temperature is when you're actually watching this review, the temperature out by you. That's kind of what I would like to know, because I certainly know that there is much better places in this climate-wise, and I know that there's much worse too. So let's all weigh in if we can, and leave your comments in the comment box down below, or the answer to that question in the comments down below. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you think that I deserve it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We'll look forward to catching you in the next one, Nation.
I wanted to say something clever, like here's Princess Vivi riding a big duck, but there's too many jokes that could be said and made from that statement there. So, as always, thank you for watching, sharing, liking, commenting, subscribing, and joining the nation.